Andrews government proceeds with Bayside Skyrail after promising residents project wouldn't go ahead. Who here knows this story, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. The residents of Bayside from Morty Alec downwards here in Victoria have been opposing the construction of a Skyrail for several years now, and it's been a really rocky road for many of the residents who have been very concerned that perhaps the Daniel Andrews government will proceed with this project against their wishes, and now it looks like that's exactly what he's doing. So for years now, residents have been campaigning in opposition to the construction of this Skyrail due to reasons that include but are not limited to disturbance from construction, having roads completely blocked up, the strain on businesses, so people not being able to access businesses, the compulsory acquisition of homes. Okay, that's one of the greatest concerns. The government simply sending people to serve homeowners with eviction notices. Hey, we're going to buy your home. There's nothing you can do about it. They're concerned about property prices and also the quality of life and changes to the landscape in the area. So there's many very, very legitimate concerns. I'd say one of the biggest concern is our homeowners and business owners potentially being served with notices to vacate, so compulsory acquisitions. Now, it's been an ongoing fight for many years now. I'm going to just take you through a couple of articles here just to paint a little bit of a picture to give you an understanding what the people have gone through. So what we have here, right, this is coming from baysidenews.com.au, a very, very local newspaper. Skyrail grounded. So why did this happen? Why was it grounded? Because community advocates and activists put a tremendous amount of pressure on the government. And I actually have on the show tonight Simon Johnson, who has led the charge in this initiative for several years now. And you'll hear from him in just a moment. But first, look at this. This was from June 2016. Skyrail grounded. Look at this. There will be no extended Skyrail from Mordialloc to Frankston along the Frankston line. All right, this was due to the community opposition. Labor Transport Minister Jacinta Allen declared at the weekend there has never been a plan for an extended elevated rail on the Frankston line. All right, black and white. There's never been a plan for it. This is insane. This story. You're not gonna believe what they've done. Goes on to say here, the state minister and the Andrews government decided to step in and end speculation about Skyrail being built along the full rail line amid a doublecross.com.au flyer campaign that was funded by the Liberal Party in the federal seat of Isaacs, urging voters to put Labor last and vote against federal MP Mark Dreyfus, since Labor is now planning to build a Skyrail lines it was 3 stories high near you on parts of the Frankston line. All right, so Labor came out after this flyer was distributed by Liberal and said, no, we're not planning to build this Skyrail. But you know what? They've completely backflipped. So this was published, this article right here, in June 2016. Earlier that year in February, Victoria's Premier, Daniel Andrews, defended the Skyrail. So they were initially planning it. Daniel Andrews admitted it. And then a few months later, after opposition was raised by the community, and also one of the major concerns from the community was that there was simply a major lack of consultation. Generally, for projects this big, the government is supposed to consult and liaise with the community to find out if, members of the community actually want this construction in their backyard. So it's all over the place. February 2016, Premier Daniel Andrews defends Skyrail project. He said here that he insists the public was properly consulted, yet thousands of people from the area claim that Daniel Andrews is lying and that they were not consulted. Then we see here the Transport Minister a few months later in 2016 stating to the residents that there was never a plan to go ahead with it. And fast forward to August 14th, 2021, look at this. Skyrail plan for level crossing removals has residents seeing red. So who here remembers a couple of weeks ago, Daniel Andrews made an appearance at Edith Vale Station. It was to announce the Skyrail. So all the campaigning, all the community opposition to the Skyrail, plus multiple MPs declaring the Skyrail would never go ahead. Well, either they were lying or Daniel Andrews has overridden them or something has happened. Because as it says here, residents are angry who live next to a planned Skyrail in Melbourne South East say their voices have been ignored amid fears some properties would be acquired. And there you go. Premier Daniel Andrews announced recently that an extra 10 level crossings would be removed. Opponents have told Herald Sun there's fears a handful of homes and businesses would be threatened by the plan. So just absolutely disgraceful to have the residents of Bayside lured into a false sense of confidence and then to have the rug pulled out from underneath them. Now, I've got Simon Johnson here with us. Simon has been in this fight for many years now. He's a community organizer and he has led a tremendous effort to push back against the government and the wrongdoings that many people in the Bayside area feel have been inflicted upon them. So he's been a tremendous advocate. He's hosted huge community groups, education sessions, petitions. He's had many petitions lodged at Parliament. He's gained the support of MPs, news interviews, and he's speaking out now because Simon, like many other residents along that part, down past Morty Alec here in Victoria, they thought they'd won. They thought that the Skyrail wasn't going ahead, and then Daniel Andrews just decides to show up couple of weeks ago and says, "Nah, we're doing it." So without further ado, I'm going to bring Simon on. The interview goes for about 22 minutes, and what Simon's been through is absolutely crazy, and you'd never think something like this would happen in a democracy. I'm going to play you the interview right now. All right, we've got Simon here with us now. Simon, thanks a lot for being here. Now, would you mind just giving an audience a bit of a recap in relation to the challenge that you're facing now and just take us through a bit of the history with everything you've faced?
Well, wow, where do I start? Probably goes back to 2016, where the Andrews state government announced that they would be building various Skyrails in parts of Melbourne. And I happened to be given a leaked copy of some documents belonging to the state government that they commissioned, showing an elevated rail or a roller coaster all the way down the Frankston line, and published that, as well as a contract they had with a particular university in developing those plans. And, you know, at the time, the government denied it. They said there'd be no elevated rail.
And I know where Simon lives in Parkdale. There's not an elevated structure or a tunnel coming through Parkdale. End of story. You know, there's not something coming through Aspinall. There's not something coming through Chelsea.
We've had a lot of feedback from the local communities along this corridor, and certainly at Edithvale and Bomb Beach there was a strong desire from the local community to see a rail trench.
And I'm talking about, say, in my suburb here in Parkdale, which is like a seaside suburb. It doesn't have any sort of big development or any of that sort of stuff, like multi-storey apartment complexes and things. So if you've ever been down to Bayside, Melbourne, you'll see it has some pretty cool cafes and things like that. And fast forward all those years, and many thousands of people signing petitions to the state government. A few weeks ago, we had an announcement by Daniel Andrews and the local member of Parliament here in Morty Alec, Tim Richardson, saying that they were going to build a Skyrail here in Parkdale, despite telling us before it wasn't going to happen, and despite tens of thousands of people campaigning against it. So this is being dropped on us without notice, without any community consultation. And the thing that frustrates me is, despite the government doing this everywhere else, you know, in Noble Park, in Murrumbina, in Carrum, in Coburg, they've always consulted with the community. But for some reason, here, they refuse point blank to.
What do you think that
Skyrail.
Why do you think the community's been ignored in this instance?
Well, I think the state government know our views already. You know, when you've campaigned for 6 years and you've tabled thousands of petitions in Parliament, when you've organised large community meetings, and you know, and you've been given assurances that it simply wouldn't happen, I think they already know our view. So, earlier this year, we know the state government changed some laws in relation to consultation. So it's not like they have to do it. But now they've just literally dropped a bomb on us. And it couldn't have come at a worse time for small business owners and retailers and traders who are already doing it insanely tough because of these lockdowns. A lot of them can't trade. And these are like small mums and dads. They're not big shop owners. They're little cafes and dry cleaners and flower shops and things like that. So, a lot of them have been closed this year. A lot of them are struggling and went into the last snap lockdown. They've lost stock and they're going broke. And, to force this on us with no start date, we don't know if tonight the trucks are going to roll in and the chainsaws come out and we're going to get 24-hour a day, 7 days a week construction all up and down here. So that's what we're living with. I mean, it's absurd. The public are already living in fear enough about these lockdowns and curfews and things, let alone when their sleep is going to be destroyed, when their property prices are going to be ruined, and when they'll be forced to close their businesses for good.
Definitely. And so can you talk a little bit more about that? What type of impact will this Skyrail have, say, on both residents in terms of property prices and also small business and trading? Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, sure. So one of the issues we have with a lack of consultation, and we know these Skyrails are big projects. So we're talking, semi-trailers, trucks, concrete beams, diggers, hundreds and hundreds of people rocking up. And Parkdale's quite small. It's quite a little narrow group of strip shops and a little train line running on the side of it. And it's got beautiful trees and, palm trees and things like that. So, when you've got all these big trucks and all this infrastructure moving in, it's a case of where are they going to put it, because there's no room. So as we've seen with, say, Edithvale, which is a couple of suburbs down from Parkdale, they've literally just taken the road. So they've just narrowed the road, they've just dumped stuff everywhere, and people can't get into the shopping centres. So when people can't shop locally and support their local cafe or get their dry cleaning or whatever it is, get some flowers, get their nails done, when they can't do that, they go to the sort of big shopping centres, and then it's the mums and dads who lose out. So that's the first thing, is really the economic impact to the community. So it amplifies what we're already seeing due to COVID. It makes it 10 times worse. So when you've got those traders that are already doing it tough, this will send them broke. This will absolutely destroy what is left of our community. And the second part of that is the construction impact. And as we've seen from, say, Carrum, which was an example of a large Skyrail project here, and they promised they wouldn't do it there, and they broke that promise and they did it. And what we've seen there is 24-hour a day, 7 day a week construction for years. So at 3 a.m. in the morning, they've got jackhammers out to the front of people's houses. They've got blokes of guys, laughing and carrying on. They've got bulldozers moving around. No one can get any sleep. And it's absolutely destroyed that community. And I know people firsthand who are friends of mine who had to move out of the area. They've sold their houses at a loss, so they've suffered financially. Some of them have had their properties acquired by the government. So these are all the unknowns here. And we still don't know if we're going to get a knock at the door like they did to people in Murrumbina. The Andrews government at 8 o'clock at night moved in and moved the bulldozer. The bulldozers literally rolled down the street and they all got knocks at the door with little pamphlets saying, "Congratulations, we're going to acquire your house." That was their level of consultation. And we're worried
would you mind just backing up a little bit? So a knock on the door, a notice stating what exactly? Would you mind expanding on that?
So, yeah, sure. So I'll give you another example at Cheltenham. We had people here, and I know them personally. I've met with them, and this is widely known in the community, where representatives from the state government and the Level Crossing Removal Project, or LXRA as they were known, knocked on the door of people's houses with their lawyers, with their documents, and they said, the government is going to compulsorily acquire your family home in order to build a Skyrail. That's it. You've got no option. There's no, redress. Your house is going to be acquired, and we're going to run a bulldozer through it.
So Simon, what about private property rights?
They don't exist. Not in this state. So the government can just acquire your house. And that's been done. Has
that been challenged to your knowledge?
Well, I know the residents they got their lawyers involved, obviously. But, I've got to say, it actually gets worse than that. And, people might think I'm exaggerating, but I actually know the people involved in this instance.
Please continue. People need to know about this, Simon, and your head has been in this fight for several years now. So we must know about this, because I think many people are feeling very concerned in relation to civil liberties that are under siege since Andrews has been able to capitalise off the emergency powers. But private property possession by the government, yeah, we need to hear about it. So, mate, please just go for it. Let us know.
Yeah, well, we had a situation. I'm not going to name their names, but we had a situation where there was a house owned. There was two houses side by side, and one of the houses had a very senior old lady with dementia, and the lawyers rocked up and said, we're going to serve this old lady notice to say we're going to acquire her house. Now, she wouldn't have the slightest clue what was going on, but they did it anyway. And fortunately, her daughter was living next door. Now, we know this for a fact. So that house was eventually acquired. It's bulldozed, it's gone, and thank goodness we campaigned in that instance and got rail under road, but they still bulldozed it. They still took the house. And this is what the community in Parkdale is worried about. I don't know, for instance, that I'm not going to get a knock at the door tonight and have Andrews' mates with a whole bunch of files say, congratulations, Simon, we're taking your house, just because we've got parks and bulldozers on it. And the same with the shops. Because one of our concerns is they want to dump this massive Skyrail here, but there's no room. So it's quite likely that they could acquire property. We just don't know who. We don't know when.
And they've demonstrated that they have the legal means, or legal in inverted commas, to serve a notice. And what say does the homeowner have in it? And what sort of offer are they made? Just an estimate on market value? No option, no nothing.
They say it's market value. I disagree. So would the homeowners. The question for everyone is, when the government comes along and acquires your house, can you actually buy back into the area, given the property prices and the lack of availability of property? And we saw this in Murrumbeena. We saw this all over the place, and it's quietly happening, and it's not being covered by the mainstream media. So
what do you reckon that is?
Thanks to you, we can get the word out.
Well, definitely. And Simon, it's these types of property acquisitions are something you'd expect to see in communist China, not something people would necessarily think are going on here in Australia. And it sets quite a dangerous precedent. The greater extent the government's able to just kick people out of their homes, I mean, where do you see this all heading?
Well, if you look at the actions of the government, so not what they say, but actually what they do, and they're two different things, particularly with this current Victorian state government. The level crossing removal project is exempt from a lot of different laws. So, for example, in Murrumbeena, down that sort of Dandenong line, a lot of the, I want to say the sort of Greens or environmental type people who were concerned about all the trees and stuff, the state government just ran a chainsaw through, 100, 150-year-old red gums and just said, let's just bulldoze, let's just wood chip a lot of them. And they did. So you can't have a government that says, well, we're environmentally friendly and we care about the the environment, but just don't look over here while we're just wood chipping every bit of green down the line. and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and they can get away with it because they just changed the laws.
Well, and I think we're seeing a lot more of that since the inception of this corona situation, the arbitrary changing of laws to fit whatever agenda the government seems to have at any given time. Now, Simon, I might just take it back a little bit. Now, as I mentioned to the audience before, you've been in this fight for years, and you've really been the main proponent of advocating for this cause, and it hasn't been without its challenges. Would you mind just talking a little bit about some of the challenges and pushback that you've experienced from the government and entities that I suppose work with the government?
It's come at an enormous personal cost, and anyone's free to Google this, Google my name and Hansard, and you'll certainly see some MPs that have gotten up and sort of in Parliament and spoken about this. But I've had everything from when we were building our house, I've had people rock up and say, well, we want you to pay a large cash donation to a construction company for us. Otherwise, there might be some problems with you building. That's on record. That's a matter of public record. That was certainly highlighted to the government, which I wasn't going to pay anyone. So let me tell you that. I've had things like, a classic one, probably the most unbelievable one that I think your viewers will think Simon's lying. It can't possibly be true. But one of the ones that affected me personally is my removal from the electoral roll. So the government literally took me off the electoral roll and took away my right to vote as an Australian citizen. And they did that based on an anonymous, vexatious complaint by somebody, and I'm pretty sure I know who it is, alleging that I didn't live in the area at the time. And that matter's gone.
That was proven beyond reasonable doubt that the removal was a result of this anonymous complaint?
Yes, absolutely. So I have all the evidence. In fact, I have a dossier on myself that I've been given access to, in which somebody compiled a lot of information about me and where I'd been living and the whole 9 yards, including a check from Vic Roads, I might add. So I haven't spoken about this before, and although I have complained to the VC about it, and they assure me that they'll put me back on the roll, but these are the lengths these people will go to make your life a living hell. They stopped me from voting in the last state election. They'll stop me voting in the council election. They just want to ruin your life. And if you speak up about the government, they go after you. The same thing happened on Facebook. Literally 12 hours before Daniel Andrews did his announcement on Facebook, at Edithvale, I was banned from Facebook. And Facebook said, well, we want you to prove that you're a real person. Can you send us your driver's license, please? So, and I'm still not back. So they've said, oh, you can comment on things, but we're taking your ability to communicate with the community away. I run several community forums. So they've said you're not allowed to post to the community, but if the community ask a question, you can respond to them until we verify your ID. And that's been going for weeks now.
And
so did that
seem random in your view? There's nothing out, no other activity on Facebook that could have prompted the Facebook overlords to take you off, or did it appear?
No,
random?
I wish there was. If I was going to say something controversial, I'd do it properly and get kicked off. This ain't random.
It's concerning. It's very concerning, and I think the government has demonstrated that they are willing to ignore the concerns of residents and push ahead with their agenda nonetheless. And now, were you under the impression that you were finally starting to make progress in your campaign against this particular construction until you saw Daniel Andrews out at Edithvale, or were you surprised?
Yeah, we knew it would happen, but we were given assurances, given the massive pushback by the community, tens of thousands of people signing our petitions. So we had petitions in shops. We have, we've had e-petitions in Parliament. We thought it had died down, but then I got rumblings of it happening again. And that actually leaked out to me the week before. And I must admit, I just said, I can't see this happening, right now, but then they just dropped it. So it's amazing. So, in response to that, I've got an e-petition in the Legislative Council. I've got paper-based petitions in all the shops. We've got about 1,700 signatures on that in just a very short period of time. So we're pushing back. We're absolutely pushing back, and the community is 100% behind it.
I'm really concerned about the precedent this is going to set in terms of government assuming more and more power and control over our lives, but not just our lives, our private property. Now, Simon, how can people support you in your mission? Because it looks like your fight has been actually taken to a new level now. How can people support you?
Well, I think if you value your freedom and you want to support us, the two things that you could do right now that will make a difference, and this can be anyone in the state can do this. They could go to noskyrail.com.au, and that will divert to the e-petition before the state parliament. And if you could sign that, just write your name and hit submit. That's yet another signature, and that's being tabled by David Davis, who's the Shadow Transport Minister. He's doing it for me. He's on our side, and he's pushing back on this. They don't want, he doesn't want it to happen either. So we've got some support there, but this is about numbers. If the state governments see that there's enough people against this, they'll stop. And they've done it before. We force them to do it in other locations, and I think we can force them to do it here. And the second thing is, I've got a Facebook page called No Skyrail Parkdale. If you could go and just like the page, just keep up to date with what's going on there, and just share some of this stuff with your friends. And I'll be putting up more and more things as they happen. So if we see that the lawyers come in and start taking people's property away, we'll no doubt see that some small businesses go broke. And if the government decides they want to consult, we'll put it up there. So, if you want to stay up to date with what's happening at the coalface, that's the way to do it.
Okay, beautiful. So noskyrail.com.au. People can head over to the website, and I've put the link in the description of this video. Sign your name, and there's power in numbers, and hopefully we can make enough noise to really push back against this tremendous encroachment on residents' rights. Also, No Skyrail Parkdale, the Facebook page. So if you go ahead and search that up in Facebook, you can go ahead and stay up to date with Simon and everything that he's doing. And I've put the link in the description there as well. And Simon, should residents start getting a knock at the door from Andrew's thugs? All right, I'm just gonna. We're not very PC on the show. We will get straight to it. We will get on them. We will expose what's going on, and we'll get the message out there. So, Simon, are there any last messages you'd like to leave with the audience before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I would just say that given what's happening, not on this issue, but more broadly, the within Victoria, I just wanted to say that choose hope over fear, and I know that many people are doing it tough right now with the lockdown in their business, or it's kids' mental health and suicide and things like that. There are so many issues out there, but just be kind to each other, but understand that there are good people like yourself and others who will stand up for what's right and stand up for the community. So don't lose hope. Keep your eyes on the prize and keep focused.
Thank you very much, Simon, and I'm looking forward to having you back. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Good on you, mate. All right, a huge thank you to Simon. Simon, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the MCJ report. We truly commend you in your efforts in pushing back against this horrible government overreach. So guys, if you would like to support Simon in his mission and stand alongside the rights of residents who have not been properly consulted with, you can go ahead and sign the e-petition. Now, the link is in the description of this video. You can also join Simon's Facebook page. The links are also in the description of this video. And it doesn't matter if you don't live in the area. This is something that we should all get behind. So yeah, once again, Simon, thank you very, very much.